Okay, we're a go. We are live. All right, the live stream is up and running. Thanks so much for your patience, but we're ready to go. So now we can blast it out to the universe. So my name is Anne-Marie Wetton, and I personally have had a chance to use the Feel Great system for 3 years. When my husband came across this product, someone introduced it to him, and I could tell that it was working because he started taking it on Monday, and by Thursday, he physically looked different. His face got thinner, he stopped snoring, and his arthritis in his knees went from a pain level 10 to a pain level 2. And I'm telling you, that got my attention. I tried it one day. I drank the Unimate for one day and realized that I was in the best mood that I had been in probably 2 years. And then I drank the fiber. We're going to talk about this fiber matrix before my meal. I was really hungry and I felt like I was ready to eat my hand. But after I drank the fiber, I thought, all right, I feel completely reasonable. I can push the plate away without having to finish every drop and then go look through the cupboards and eat everything. It transformed our lives so significantly that I wanted to start sharing this. And so, what we're going to talk about tonight is we're going to hear from two people who have been using this system for a bit. We're going to share their experience. And then Dr. Tiffany here is one of our colleagues, and she's going to talk about how things used to be in the 1970s with the no snacking culture and how we can go back to some of the things that we learned about people being slim in the 1970s, how we can use this in the modern day environment. So, Walt, I want to introduce you. And I had the opportunity to meet with Walt when I was in Colorado recently, and he had quite the incredible story about his new experience on it. So Walt and I have met, and I have heard his story, and I really wanted him to share it with you. So Walt, I'm going to hand it over to you. Walk us through how things have changed for you since you started doing this.
Oh, you bet. Good evening, everybody. I'm Walt Smith. I'm honored to be here tonight with Emery. And my journey started 234 days ago, or about 9 months. Before Feel Great, had low energy, slept every time I sat in a chair for any length of time, and drank lots of sugared coffee and had mid morning and mid afternoon crashes. I wanted to feel better. I have a grandson. I wanted to be there for him. I heard Sam's testimony about what it had done for him and how much he'd lost. So I decided to go on Feel Great, and my wife, bless her heart, decided to go on it with me to join me in that effort. Just to give you an idea, some of the changes that have happened for me in the past 9 months, I've lost over 63 pounds. I've gone to a 4X, from a 4X to a 2X shirt. I've lost 9 inches around my middle. I have good energy every day. I don't fall asleep when I sit down. One of the things is being an engineer, you have to have a sharp mind. And I was dealing with a lot of brain fog. That's gone. That's so good. So, and then my blood tests back in January, my A1C went from 7.9 to 5.6. Cholesterol was from 206 to 168. My weight, I was well rounded at 360 pounds. In January, I was at 314. This morning, I was at 297. So that's incredible. Triglycerides were 216 and went down to 118. So all indicators for my statins were into the green zone. The doc, wow. The doc said, stand up. I want to give you a hug.
Mhm.
Most people, when they say they're going to do something, don't follow through. You did. Be true to yourself, please. Feel Great is the easiest and most successful eating plan I've ever been on, and it is sustainable. Today I feel great both physically and mentally. I understand what my body needs and doesn't need. And for those who are listening, if you're stuck where I was, like I did, please be encouraged. Just real quick, I can share some things about Sherry. Sherry is down 36 pounds
This is your
and
wife. Sherry's your wife.
4 dress sizes
Yeah.
in that time. So that's huge, huge. And we just celebrated our 50th wedding anniversary, and she was able to fit into her original wedding dress,
Mhm.
which that's, yeah.
Mhm. I love
So that's my story in a nutshell.
Well, that was incredible. And I know I have goosebumps from head to toe, especially when you talked about Sherry being able to fit into her wedding dress for your 50th wedding anniversary. I agree. This is something absolutely special. And, so grateful to meet you in person. You are such a special couple. And I love, people are saying in the comments, I'm not crying. Nope. What you said was so meaningful. You are the person who said, like, I want to be around for my grandkids. I have this 50-year marriage and you both want to live you both want to live as long as you can together. And when I saw you, you were both so healthy and vibrant. And you just look and I just looked and felt you could feel the energy coming off of both of you. So thank you so much for sharing your story. I hope other people are inspired by that as well. And Walt is not a paid spokesperson. He is just a happy customer, right? He just is a person who has had a good experience with it. And I asked him to share his story and he agreed to do that. So thank you so much, Walt. Great
You
job.
bet.
Great job. We appreciate it. And here is another. I feel like I've been traveling the world, I guess, but I also got to meet Rob and his wife in person when we were in Vegas. I'll help you unmute. Let me see if it's gonna go. There we go. So Rob, tell us your line. How long have you been on the system? What have you found so far? Because your before and after experience has been really, really phenomenal too. Let us know.
Yeah, no, it's been amazing. So it's been about 14 months that I decided. I was very skeptic at first. Of course, you have all these snake oils out there, and it just your guard's up. So I researched it for a while, and I kept watching and doing more research, and finally, I told my wife, Melissa, is like, I think I want to try this. I mean, I was overweight, struggled with weight. I had severe arthritis, um, terrible gout. I suffered from gout flare-ups for about 15 years, crippling gout in my feet, hands, and elbows. And then my blood pressure, of course, every year just kept getting higher and higher and higher. Of course, the doctor would put me on medication. Then next checkup, well, it's a little better, but then the next appointment it would be higher, so they would double my medication. They just every time would just increase the medication. Wouldn't give me any hope. It was just okay. We'll just give you some more medication. I know that I just knew I couldn't go on this way anymore. I was having terrible migraine headaches. I mean, it was on a weekly basis. I would just where I have to lock myself in a dark room and just be quiet, just almost make you sick to your stomach. They were just terrible. Then at night, acid reflux was just through the roof. I mean, no matter what I ate, I just could not get relief. I over the counter would work for a little bit, and then pretty soon I was taking double the over the counter recommended dosage, and then pretty soon that wouldn't work anymore. And then you get a prescription, and that wouldn't work anymore. So it was just I was at the end of my rope. Then what the straw that broke the camel's back was I started having foot and ankle pain so severe that I was having to get protozoan injections multiple times a year to just to be able to function and walk. I mean, it was, I was 50 years old and I'm like, I'm pretty much crippled. And we live in a tri-level house, with a lot of stairs. Got to walk stairs, and it was just everything I could do just to make it around inside my house. And I was like, this something's got to go.
And
So
grandkids. You have to run after.
grandkids, yeah, definitely. We all know their energy levels, and I just couldn't keep up. So I was with Walt. Same thing as I wanted to be around for them, and so I decided I found this protocol, and I told my wife, I was like, look, what do we got to lose? It's 90-day money back guaranteed. It everything, it's all natural. There's no side effects. Any medication can be taken with. Let's give it a shot. So we both decided to give it a shot, and like I said, it's been a true blessing. The last say 14 months now. Well, I noticed within a few weeks, my acid reflux was completely gone. Sleep patterns improved. Moods really improved, especially hers. But
That's my,
but no, and then my arthritis was diminishing. Gout was gone. So I just pretty much threw all those medications in the trash. I was on 6 different medications, and I currently today I take 0, no medications. My blood pressure unmedicated, I was like 175 over 130, 125. Now it's running 110 over 60, and no medications.
Wow. Wow.
It's just been a blessing. And I was 235 pounds at my highest, and then now I'm 165 pounds.
My goodness.
I eat more now than I did in high school. My metabolism's through the roof. My metabolism's reset. It's unbelievable once your body gets what it needs, the natural, nutrients and vitamins and fiber, that how it your body reacts to it. And it's almost like I'm back in my teenage years now. And I'm 55 actually in 2 days. So
nice. Well, happy birthday. Happy birthday in 2 days. I love it.
I have more energy now than I did in my 20s.
Yeah.
And that's not exaggerating. So it's been a
wonderful.
godsend. Yeah.
And I love your story, Rob, where you went from, I don't know if I can walk around my house. If you can understand that, I can imagine being a 54-year-old person and thinking, I don't know if I can walk around my house. To this person I got to see in Las Vegas, buzzing around, completely free use of your body. And you're just both like an amazing couple. And I'm so grateful that you got on and shared. Some people are here saying like, well, what did you like? Tell me what you, there's some happy birthday messages too in the chat. Did you do anything special when you did the system? Did you just follow the system, or did you do something extraordinary?
Yeah, I was never a really big snacker, but when I ate, I would eat. I would eat junk food. I wouldn't eat properly. Still, I mean, that's what was easy to start the protocol was, which you don't have to really totally upset all your eating habits. You can just kind of implement this chlorogenic acid tea and fiber into your daily routine, and then it seems like via osmosis that just changes. Your eating habits improve, your mindset, your healthy attributes. Just it seems like they just via osmosis they just as change. And like you didn't have a choice, you just automatically notice like, oh wow, I'm getting it, so
Eating healthier now.
yeah. But yeah, she's got a pretty good story about the eating habits.
Yeah, I was the cookie monster.
Tell us about you. Tell us about your experience.
So I was overweight, and then I had terrible eating habits, but being a mom and then grandkids, you eat everything that's they're eating it, you're eating it. And just over time gaining and then not really being able to lose. Then here's my grandkids and trying to run after them, not even realize like, oh, I have arthritis too. And, it's like after taking the tea, I was like, man, there's a lot of things that I actually did have, not even thinking that, yeah, I was overweight. My sleeping patterns were like 4 hours a day. And then after drinking the tea, I was like, I can't believe I'm getting like, 8 hours of sleep, continuous sleep, and, snoring. I don't believe that. But, and heartburn, I'd always get it at night, and, that went away. And I was like, man, this stuff is really amazing. And we continue to do it. And like my brain fog was, I'm older. So, brain, the older you get, the more stress you get. But I was like, man, that's, I was getting, clarity. My mood was getting better. Don't listen to him because, he'll probably say, but
he says he also agrees that your mood got better, that you just feel better overall, right? You went from, Yeah, with you and I are a similar age, so we're both in this kind of perimenopause, menopause stage, and it's a tough time. It's a tough time in life.
Yes.
And what this does is it helps you with the menopause symptoms and the menopause mood. That was a
Yes.
big game changer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
I was getting like snippy as much. It's like, oh, I feel like I'm more level.
Yeah.
Not like things would bother me before. I'm like, yeah. I was like, that does help my mood. It's like I'm like a lifer for this.
Mhm. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing. If you have someone who's kind of on the fence, like you were saying, like, hey, what have we got to lose 14 months later? One of the things that I love that we found about the systems, for us is 3 years later, is this is just easy to use. You don't get sometimes when people use a weight loss injection at the 18-month mark, it stops working. This doesn't stop. This doesn't stop working. This always keeps working.
Yeah. And I also have lost, that wasn't really my big intention, but I was like, I knew I was overweight, but I had lost 55 pounds even,
Oh my goodness.
doing this. So I was like, hey, that's, amazing. Even, going from a extra large to 2X large shirt to now I'm like, small on most of them, I pant size. You do have to get a new wardrobe.
That's right. One of the side effects, there's no side effects, no contraindications, meaning there's no medication that you can't mix with, but you will have to buy new clothes. When
Yes.
you use the system, you're going to need a new belt, you're going to need new pants. And if you keep wearing your extra large shirt, you're going to look dumpy. So you have to get the correct clothing size
Well,
when you
one
do.
thing you mentioned, Anne-Marie, is um, just our family and friends. Like
Mhm.
we would walk into a place and they'd be like, "Oh, hey, we need to talk to you,"
Yeah.
and we're like, "Well, what? We want to know what you're doing." I mean, you wouldn't say a word,
No.
and they just haven't seen us in like a month, and they would just be shocked and like, "We want to know."
Yeah.
So we were like, "Well, this is what we're doing," and then we would share, our referral code, and it's like, here's our referral code, get you the best price, and
Mhm.
he signed up, and I bet you we've referred close to 20 people now and everyone has a similar story. Everyone's having similar results, and just they can't believe how easy it is and how sustainable and portable it is. Like you go on vacation, you take it with you. It's
Mhm.
so
And there
Yeah,
easy.
have
you just pop the packets in. That's so true. It makes it the easiest thing in the world to do around. And I promise you, Rob, I've used this all over the world. I traveled the world, and there's no place that this is inconvenient. It's convenient. It's the most convenient thing to do everywhere. So thank you so much for sharing your story. We really appreciate you getting on and doing that. We love it. Right. I want
Thank
to
you.
introduce my colleague and one of my now close friends. Dr. Tiffany is a double board certified physician family medicine doctor, and she started studying lifestyle medicine in order to figure out how not to give everybody prescriptions all the time. There had to be another way. And she's come over to help us with this mission of real health. So, Dr. Tiffany, I'm going to turn it over to you and walk us through what happened in 1970s. People used to be hot and healthy. Like what happened?
People used to be hot and healthy. I'm sure there's people on the call thinking, I'm still hot. No, no, no. But yes, yes, yes. Thank you, Emery, for that great introduction and those testimonials. Let me share these slides I put together to give you guys an overview of what I'm talking about. Alrighty. Emery, can you hear me?
I can hear you and it's just coming up. Yeah, your screen share is just getting started.
Yeah, yeah. So apparently, things didn't want to work the way I want them to work, but I'm still here. So it should be showing about now, though, right? We're good.
It's good. Yep.
Okay, good. Habits versus willpower. So, why habits, not willpower, are the real prescription for lasting health? And yes, after 20 years of practicing traditional medicine, I figured something else had to be happening because my patients didn't look good. They didn't feel hot and healthy. So, I wanted to figure out what was the missing link. And then I got board certified in lifestyle medicine, which is about going after the root causes of conditions. And so, leaving the algorithm behind and trying to help people find ways to improve their health naturally with lifestyle. And why I changed course? Pretty much because everybody I knew kept needing more medications. It was as if, you were going to see a doctor on a weekend getaway. You shouldn't need a suitcase to go see your doctor. But unfortunately, that's what was happening. And it just kept happening. A medication for this side effect and that side effect. And oh, now you have high blood pressure. So now let's add a blood pressure medicine. And we weren't really getting to the root cause. I was just handing out prescriptions.
Oh, did we lose you?
No.
Oh.
No, you didn't lose me. I was trying to fix something. Okay, the willpower. In fact, I might have gone too fast trying to fix stuff. Oh, goodness. Okay, yes. So we're dealing with actual data. This isn't just, me just talking about something. There's actual data that points to this being a problem. And the system clearly it's broken. It's actually just keeping people more sick than it is helping people get healthy. 70% of us in the US are struggling with overweight or being obese. And then 25% have fatty liver disease. And that used to be a condition just for alcoholics. And now 38 million of us are actually dealing with diabetes. And this is just the US, and these numbers are spreading across the world. And so willpower was always given too much power, if you ask me. For years, we told people over and over and over again, the reason why you where you are is because you just didn't have the willpower. And so that's what people feel. And so they feel like they fail when they aren't able to make these changes. I mean, Walt and Rob and everybody who has results, it's so easy to end up falling off the wagon, so to speak, and then blaming yourself for it. I just wasn't strong enough. I just couldn't say no. Okay, but it's not the willpower. So we are not rational actors. We think we are. Willpower is a finite resource, and the environment always wins. So the environment always wins. And so Tony Robbins has this quote: information without execution is poverty. We're drowning in information. We have information at our fingertips. It's everywhere. But starving for wisdom and how to apply it is the problem. And so let's talk about the issue that we actually are stuck in. It's the power of default. I love how, I believe that was Rob who was talking about, he just automatically, it was like autopilot. Well, somebody said that in the comments, autopilot to start being healthy. Well, the default, which we're going to talk about now, it is we've moved towards the default of not being healthy. And there's something about that default movement. However, I mean, how many times have you driven somewhere, right? And your body just kept going. But you were supposed to be going left, but because you're so used to going this particular route, that's the route you go. And so this is just talking about how different countries have a different percentage on organ donation. Germany, Austria, Denmark, Sweden, right? Lots of similar values, similar cultures, but different defaults, vastly different defaults. And so you have opt-out countries. In opt-out countries, inertia works. That's that whole, I'm not really going to move. I'm just going to do nothing. And so the default setting shapes behavior far more than just your individual choice. And this is exactly how we got into that weight gain becoming automatic instead of weight loss being automatic. And so since defaults drive decisions, you really have, three situations here. Opt-in default, this requires action to participate. So most people don't act, so they don't move. Then you have opt-out default. So this requires action to exit. So most people just stay where they are, right? And then food default. If food is present, most people eat it regardless of hunger. And I know I have people in this call that if I asked you to raise your hand, you would be able to tell me, yeah, you were just at a meeting. And especially if you're somebody that doesn't have these tools we like, you were just at a meeting and saw these things. And it was so hard to say no, even though you weren't hungry. Well, back in the 1970s, we didn't do all this eating. The default was not eating. Okay, people ate their 3 meals. There weren't any snacks at the office. We didn't have meetings to where we always had to bring food for meetings. I was just on a call with my people. I'm actually doing a missions trip, and we were talking about bringing snacks. We're always trying to bring snacks, okay? And nobody chastised you for skipping meals way back then. No. It required no work because the environment simply did not offer the temptation. It was automatic. So it was on autopilot. You didn't have to worry about gaining, okay? Today, the default has totally flipped. And so now you have situations to where we have all this fast food around us. We're sitting, the sedentary lifestyle, and it ends up being a setup for weight gain, okay? And so blaming individuals for obesity is like blaming the water for flooding when it's the dam that broke. In this modern day food environment, the 10 a.m. meeting with the bagels, the 2 p.m. meeting with the cookies and the muffins, and then you walk down the hallway and somebody's having a birthday, you know they have cake or cupcakes, and it's just there constantly in your face. And it takes real willpower to avoid the eating because it's always there. And so it's smelling good. You have the social pressure to do this, but it's not a people problem, it's a system problem. And then if you think about the cars, I mean, way back when I was a kid, we didn't have all these daggone cup holders in the car. It just was not okay for you to be eating and driving and drinking and driving. So much so that people are living and working in their cars, that they're doing all these things in their car. So if we want to make a dent, right? If we want to make a change, the environment has to change. And when it does, behavior follows. Okay. And not being able to change in this type of environment doesn't mean weakness. That's human. You're human. And so we have to do things to take back control. It's a system problem, not a people problem. So fix the default, fix the outcome. So if 70% of Americans are overweight and obese, the problem is that millions of people are simultaneously just don't have any willpower. No, that's the environment we're in. So as a physician, and I think a lot of us are coming around to this, not entirely all of us, but I stopped blaming patients the day I started understanding this was a system problem. Now, I'm not taking all the control off of you. Yes, we choose what we put in our mouths, right? And so that's a whole nother issue. But most of it is with this environment and the actual root issue. So when we're eating all those things that we see at the meetings, the carbs, the sweets, the processed foods, it sets up this horrible condition, insulin resistance, which is at the root of all of this. And pretty much most of your providers aren't checking for this. We aren't trained to do this. The algorithms say nothing about what to do with a fasting insulin. But we know what to do with an A1C. We know what to do with a blood pressure over 120, over 80. We know what to do with a total cholesterol over 200. But as far as an insulin level, we're like, what is that? What are you talking Spanish? But this is the actual root problem. And if we don't actually address it, then we don't fix it. So fixing insulin resistance is the key to reversing this whole cascade with the fatty liver, the type 2 diabetes, the cardiovascular disease, the obesity, all these things. And eating 24/7 is not the answer. That's what got us here. And so you have this scary hidden consequence of fatty liver. Before it was alcohol, so people just really blame the alcoholics, right? But no, this is getting so many people and even affecting our children. So clearly, you don't have to drink to have it. It is from that constant snacking with those carbohydrates and processed foods. And it leads to cirrhosis, liver failure, liver cancer. And so the default food environment is quietly destroying lives across America. And so let's talk about resetting the default. Intermittent fasting is a great way to reset the default. And it doesn't just reduce calories at all, it resets the eating to not eating. Okay, and there's some great science on this. Besides the fact that during this break in eating, so to speak, what you're doing is you're allowing your cells to detox themselves, get rid of broken processes, get rid of things that don't work, mitochondria that don't work. That's called autophagy. It's an actual thing. Somebody got a Nobel Prize for it, Dr. Osumi, I believe. And so this actually really happens without you having to do anything but not eat. That's all you got to do, just not eat. So since leaving traditional medicine, I've been able to see people reverse fatty liver, reduce or eliminate their diabetes medications through fasting and through making these choices we're going to talk about using the tools that I like to talk about and use with my members. Now, you can't out willpower a bad environment. Y'all can have that. It's not happening. That's why we're where we are. The environment is really very strong. And that's why so many people struggle. You have your few people that will be able to fight through, but then they have problems with sustainability, consistency. So this is the core message I bring to everyone every single day. Not quite in my office as much since I'm over the computer a lot, right? I used to see so many people motivated, ready to make a change, and they would fail. They would fail because they had trouble with the discipline, but they also had problems with saying no and being consistent. They had a hard time turning off the food noise and the carb noise, okay? And they were just swimming upstream against the system designed to make them eat, right? So first thing, stop blaming yourself. Start redesigning your environment. And when redesigning your environment isn't fully possible, that's when the tools we're going to talk to you about actually come into play and have made such a huge difference. So after prescribing metformin, statins, blood pressure to patients whose real problems were the food environment, I wasn't getting the change I wanted. And so with lifestyle medicine, I knew I had to take the tree out by the root. So that means I had to go after the big issue, and insulin resistance is it. And so with using these plant-based tools, we're able to tackle that. So small shifts, big results. Here's the different things we could do. These are where I start, because you got to do smart, small goals is what you need to do. Eat at a table. Get away from the eating at the screen, at the desk. That way food gets your full attention. So then you eat less of it, right? For those of us that are overeating. And then the no snacking. So between meal snacking, when you're always doing that, you're keeping your insulin high. And so it's making your pancreas have to constantly release insulin. And that high insulin drives the damage to your kidneys, the heart, the blood vessels, the cholesterol. It drives all those things. And then eventually increasing the sugar and the diabetes. Okay. And then delay or skip breakfast, because now we're getting into that whole taking a break from eating thing, the fasting type of things. And I meet people where they are. That's why you see 12 to 16 hours fasting and using your sleep time to leverage it. So that way, some of that time you're asleep. And then if you can do longer, great, you can do longer, but starting there. And transformation is obviously possible. We had people talk about it, and we're going to see some more pictures of people who actually have had some transformation. So resetting the defaults, using the tools to help quiet the food noise, change the food environment, and then restoring the metabolism, that fasting, less refined carbs, resistance training. I'm a fan for that, right? And then reclaiming your health period, reversing it entirely. Forget just getting off of meds. How about we get the A1C back to 5 for my people who are diabetic? Let's not just rest on the algorithms where they want us to be. The reality is we have more power than we think. After 2 years, not 2 years, 2 decades of writing prescriptions, I can really say this clearly. The most powerful medicine is not in the bottle. No, it's not. It is really in you, in your kitchen, in your daily habits. It's in what you've committed yourself to do. It is how you're going to control your stress, your sleep, and your mind. Redesign your entire environment, your eating patterns. Now, we use plant-based tools that we're going to talk about too that make all these changes easier, because the power, let me be very clear, the power is in the lifestyle changes. It is. But that's like having a fist fight. You think about it. You have a fist fight, everybody has their fists out, right? It's like white knuckling it, and you're on the same playing field. But when you have tools that turn off the food noise, allow you to feel full, allow you not to want to eat as much, and also do some other great things, it's like bringing a knife to a fist fight. So we're going to talk about the knife to this fist fight, but the whole point is empowering you to understand that it's not that you are weak. It's not that you are failing. It's that you just needed the right tools. And the great thing is you're on the call where we're going to talk about it. Because once we actually redesign your environment, we can make that whole weight gain stop being automatic to where weight loss becomes the new default. And so that's what we're trying to do here with these products. And I think I'm good.
That was so fun. If you were here and maybe you're nostalgic, if you grew up in if you grew up in the 1970s, like I did, you might say, "Oh my goodness, how do I get back to that? I remember that." I want to show you some pictures, some examples of like what did people look like? What did people look like in the 1970s? If you remember or you don't remember, but this is just regular, real regular people in the 1970s, and you think, oh my gosh, it seems impossible in our modern food environment to ever get back to looking like this. This is at a beach. This is in a foreign country. I think this is in Brazil. This is another beach. This is what people look like. The whole beach looks like this. This is what a school teacher looked like in the 1970s. You can see these pictures. People were not having these big extended bellies. They were like teeny tiny thin. I don't know if they even make size anymore. This is just a group of students standing around in high school. Another people standing around. I mean, look at the teacher. This is what they look like. So you're thinking this is no longer available to us anymore because of our modern food environment. This is Charlie's Angels. I love. They're a great icon for the 1970s. And so you can see maybe we thought like, oh, this is all over for us. Maybe for the majority of Americans, this could be around the world. But I'm going to show you this is a regular, real person that lives in the modern food environment. This is a person who's on this call, Andrea. And Andrea was able to take herself back to the 1970s look just using the Feel Great system. Before that, she struggled with snacking just like the other people were talking about on the phone. This is Cody. Cody also did this in about 6 months, is about 50 pounds, but he got rid of this belly. And notice he has no stretch marks here, even though he lost weight quickly, because when you lose weight through intermittent fasting, your body, through something called autophagy, actually eats that loose skin. So we're not finding that people have to have big skin surgery. Sometimes if they use bariatric surgery, they need skin surgery because of the loss there. But we're not seeing that when people use this system in intermittent fasting, which is really significant. This is Susan. Susan gets to look like it's 1970s. This is my friend Paul. He's off of all of his blood sugar meds, by the way, too. He's 82 years old and spent, many, many years on meds. He thought he was not ever going to be thin again, and now he looks like it's 1970, Misty, 1970 again. Here we have this gentleman on the phone tonight too. We have him speaking a lot. Look at, he looks like 1970s again. Pastor Ron, just 60 days in, he's working his way back to the 1970s. Tim also, looks slim like they do in those pictures. And so this is what he was like before the Feel Great system. Also was able to reverse diabetes, got off of 8 or 9 meds, down 40 pounds. And we know that some of our genes might be changing this, but what happened was the food changed. The food changed in our environment. But I just showed you some proof that even in the modern food environment, when we use this system, we don't have to, we can change what's going on with some of the simple changes. So what is this? Maybe you're on here and you're like, I don't even know what you people, I do not even know what it is that you're talking about. You keep talking about the system, the something. And so what I want to talk to you a little bit too is yeah, this system protects us from the modern food environment. That's beautiful. And so many people have been writing in the comments about their story and what they've experienced as well. And I want to take you, I don't know why it always jumps. So what I want to do is just take you into some of the things that we're looking at. So some of the problems that we're facing around diabetes, PCOS, fatty liver, heart disease, high blood pressure, Alzheimer's, which is type 3 diabetes, migraines, erectile dysfunction, neuropathy. We even, Rob talked about gout related to insulin resistance. So sometimes if you go to a doctor, they might give you a medication for each one of these things individually. But what this system does is it addresses the root cause of all of these, which is insulin resistance. It helps you become more sensitive to insulin again. And then we start to see all of these problems resolving. 93% of adult Americans are metabolic unhealthy. We haven't found those 7% yet, but we believe that they're out there. But what we're finding is really anyone who's using this system is feeling relief of some sort. So things they might be seeing: belly fat, skin tags, inflammation, high cholesterol. They're struggling with sleep apnea, high blood sugar, and constant cravings. So our solution is 2 simple products, both plant-based. One that we use when we're fasting, it's called Unamate, and it's a yerba mate plant that grows in South America. We concentrate it, extract it, and put it into a fine powder. What we do is we mix this in water. We drink this when we're fasting, and before a meal, we blend this fiber matrix. We put that in water, drink it right before we eat, and it helps to keeps us in the safe zone, cuts the carbohydrates from spiking our insulin, spiking our glucose about 50%. So when we keep our glucose levels low, our insulin is not going to go higher. And if we can start eating that next meal with lower insulin levels, we're not going to use as much insulin and we're going to stay in a fat burning zone. This has over 20 clinical studies by major universities. People can use their HSA, FSA accounts in order to purchase this. And it's a nutraceutical, which means that it works like a pharmaceutical, but with no side effects. It's just plants. And we're in over 60 countries now. It's patented, so nobody can copy it. And the manufacturer gives a 90-day money back guarantee. So let's say you try it, and for whatever reason, you didn't get the results that you were expecting, and you've been trying to troubleshoot, the manufacturer will give you your money back. But I have to tell you that this is available, this 90-day money back guarantee is available around the world, and there's a 1% return rate. 1%. So And most of those people are the ones that didn't quite open the box or didn't understand how to use it. So we want to make sure that you know how to use this system. It's about $1.70 per packet in the United States and 3 packets a day. So when you order a system, it comes in a box like this with a diamond bottle. And the name of the game is that you can wake up and we're creating some windows when you're giving your digestive system a break. Some people skip breakfast and they have lunch and dinner. Some people have breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but don't eat between the meals. You replace a snack with the Unimate. And so they're keeping a 4 hour fasting window between each meal. And we're seeing a lot of success. What we're doing is we're staying in fat burning and relief mode when we do that. And so that's the simple protocol that we're using, just these 2 products, and we use them 3 times a day. And I'm hearing people in the comments saying they're a lifer. I'm reading Ralph had an experience. He's down 50 pounds, 15 inches off his waist. Vision is now okay. This is really interesting because 3 people today have said their vision is now 2020 vision. These are people in their 50s. I still have reading glasses. I can see far, but I can't see up close. And what we're seeing is that people's vision has improved. Keith, who's on here too, was getting injections in his eyes, type 2 diabetic before he found the system. He had to get regular injections in his eyes. He does not anymore. And for some reason, his glasses stopped working. He went in and he found out it's because his vision was corrected. So that's another thing that we see that is very, very interesting. Someone started in November 2025, diagnosed with major depressive disorder, and now off meds for that. Still figuring out the weight loss part, but you've lost 13 pounds. So congratulations on that. You'll continue to do this. And Mark is saying no more eye floaters. So eye floaters are a sign of insulin resistance. If you've seen eye floaters and people see those go away. So I do think that's exciting. I had experienced Hashimoto's for 17 years. And in about 8 months, my antibodies returned to normal. My gut issues, food allergies go hand in hand with Hashimoto's, trouble losing weight. All of my Hashimoto's symptoms are gone, and my numbers are now normal. So that has been a huge, huge benefit. So go ahead and read through the comments and see some of the things that you might notice. Maybe you've had some of those struggles yourself and you want to correct them. So I appreciate everyone taking some notes and reading them in the comments. I'm so grateful for you sharing your stories. And some of the conversations there, some people's asking about MS. There's some people on the call who are suffering with some inflammation that can address your question there too. So I'm going to close out a little bit early this evening, and thank you so much for coming on. I know that there are some people that we were not able to reach in time. I lost my 43-year-old sister last summer, last July, because of metabolic disease. She'd struggled with type 1 diabetes. She ended up passing away ultimately from pancreatic cancer. Her system, she was part of the medical system from the time she was 8 years old. She was told by doctors, eat whatever you want and chase it with insulin. And by the time she was in her 40s, her pancreas was done with this. She did get some relief at the end from this system. She was able to get her blood pressure down, and she was able to, thank you so much. She was able to use a lot less insulin, but she still had already experienced 35 years of damage. She left my 7-year-old nephew behind when she did. And that helps to really expand the mission. How do we reach people sooner so that they can improve their metabolic disease and not leave my brother-in-law a widow in his 40s for a food disease? It is really hard. All of these people that are out there that are struggling, we see people that are probably passing away 10 years earlier, 15 years earlier than they needed to because they're not seeing the connection between the food that they're eating and the lifestyle and the diseases that they're feeling, the medications that they're on. And so what our mission here is to really understand that we can go back, even in our modern food environment, we can go back to being hot and healthy When we combine intermittent fasting and fiber, and we found these simple tools that make it sustainable and possible year after year after year without any side effects, without creating a secondary problem, but just improving our health, adding antioxidants, which come in the Unimate, and helping people to feel better and live happier, healthy lifestyles, getting rid of the depression, the anxiety, those bad feelings. And so, if you have someone that you love that is struggling with their health and you listened to this call and you thought, there is somebody that I want to reach out to, you got to see plenty of evidence tonight in this call that this is not a one off. This is not two people who got lucky and had this. We have 400 people on the call with people nonstop reaching into the comments and telling about their experience as well. I know sometimes it's hard to believe that this is real. It's hard to believe that there is hope and that you don't have to be sick and that you don't have to suffer from gout, that you don't have to take take a big bowl of medications all day long, that there's another way to live. And we invite you to stick with us. And if you have someone that you think of that you can share this with, feel free to invite them to our science call next Tuesday night and see if we can extend their belief as well. So I'm so blessed to have found this protocol. Thank you so much, Dr. Tiffany, for speaking. Walt, Rob, we really appreciate you getting on, and the people in the comments saying, yeah, this is very real. We want you to have a positive experience. If you have questions about how to use it, reach out to your coach, reach out to the person who invited you to this call, and we will help you to have the experience that you heard other people having tonight. All right. Thank you so much for being on. Good night.